We don't have to sell keto diets and sell out in order to get people feeling great. We can do it just in an organic way.
On this week's episode of the podcast, we have Matt and Mike from Body Fresh Fitness.
So I started in a YMCA, just literally cleaning treadmills and just figuring out how the business worked.
We discuss business partnerships and the risk-reward factor.
The key is with like any partnership is that as long as you respect each other, you listen to each other's opinion and you understand that sometimes you can have one person maybe working slightly harder than another in given times. As long as you understand that that person's bought into the same vision as you and want to grow with you on that journey.
They talk about how they transformed their business model, going from an open gym to small group personal training. They talk about the importance of building a brand. We talk about sales mentality and how to make 20 brand new front-end sales every single month.
In the early days when our price point was a lot lower, so when we were selling sort of £75 to £90 memberships, I was getting a lot of volume in and I was doing a completely different sales mindset to what I'm doing right now.
They pull back the curtain on how they went from 60% retention up to 98%.
It's my salesmanship or my delivery. And if they are going that stage but they're only staying 1 month, then it's my retention, it's how I'm looking after it, it's my product of my performance as a personal trainer.
And we talk finance, spreadsheets and knowing your numbers.
We were in a bit of a painful place in terms of our business financially, and we were going around in circles a lot, and there was certain elements that we weren't very good at this point, and one of those was...
Let's jump into the episode. Welcome to the FMA podcast. We'll delve into your story and everything in terms of what you've created. But let's just get a quick backstory. How did you both get into the fitness industry? How did you meet? And then how did you start the business?
So when I started when I was 19, I went to university. I did a sports science degree. And from there, that's where I found sort of my passion. I used to play rugby when I was younger. And then I sort of naturally, because I wanted to be a rugby player, I was focused on training my body, how to be fit, that kind of then getting qualified and then doing some personal training on the side. Started off working at health clubs as a PT. And then I got a career-ending injury in my early 20s. So then I put all my time and energy into fitness. End up becoming a fitness manager not long after that, and then become a general manager running a health club. And that's sort of been my entry. I've never actually before the last few years actually done apps one-to-one PT only. It was only when I met Matt that we decided to sort of jump into one-to-one training, coming up to 7 years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Matt?
So my journey was, I worked in the corporate world since leaving school, and kind of found fitness a little bit later. I also played rugby, believe it or not, and had quite a good sort of sporting background. But I was in the corporate world for many years and I always liked the idea of doing it, but I was caught in the procrastination trap, as we all get caught in from time to time. And then I got into it around about 2016 after being made redundant. I had about enough money given to me by my former company. And I thought, I'm going to have about 6 months. If I'm really good with this money, I can take a punt. I'll go for it. I'll try and set this thing up, and went full vision, full in to trying to grow like Body Fresh Fitness from the get-go, and started really just very slowly just trying to cut my teeth and find out how it all worked very, very quickly. So I started in a YMCA, just literally cleaning treadmills and just figuring out how the business worked on the back end. And then when I was ready, I sort of called Mike up at a local gym from where I lived and was like, right, I'm ready to come in and start like doing a PT business here, and sort of that was my entry level into it.
But you didn't know each other at this point?
At this point, we had never met, no.
Off camera, you said this. How old were you when you made that decision to jump into the fitness industry?
So I was around about 33, 34.
So a lot of people listening to this, they're similar position. Maybe they've got a passion for fitness, but they've not taken the leap of faith. What would you say to them?
I get where they're coming from, because it's nice because you've got a paycheck slipping into your account every month, and it's a scary place. But the worst thing in the world that can ever happen is you can try it, it fails, you can go and get another paycheck. It's not a problem. So I would say just get on with it, go for it, take the risk. People write themselves off when they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and I just don't understand it. And I wish I'd gone a little bit earlier than that, but I didn't. But it completely changed my mindset. I've never looked back. I don't procrastinate at all now. I'm almost the opposite of that now. Whereas I'll just throw myself into anything, and it works.
Is that because you both of you sort of back yourself to survive, swim, and come out the other side?
I think for me personally, I'm not that scared of failure, to be honest. I'm quite happy to fail early and then learn from it and then move on. So I'm not that worried about the failure side of it. Again, I just think the worst thing that could happen is, you're not successful with it. Okay, then you learn from that and you can move on and maybe be successful down the line with it. But it does help being in a business partnership where we bounce off of each other a lot, and that really helps us kind of forge our journey better because we take more calculated risks.
I did want to talk about the business partnership. So you've entered the conversation of this now, so let's just talk about it. So the business partnership, many don't survive and many split. What do you feel it takes for you know, a business partnership to work?
First? Yeah, I mean, for me, it's about mutual respect. We didn't come into this initially as friends. We just worked really well together, and then the friendship sort of grew as we had that good working relationship. So I think that's always a good start point. And the key is with like any partnership is that as long as you respect each other and you listen to each other's opinion and you understand that sometimes you can have one person maybe working slightly harder than another in given times, as long as you understand that that person's bought into the same vision as you and want to grow with you on that journey, there's no sort of really major issues. I mean, with us, we've always had that passion for fitness. We've always been on the same page of how to help people. We've had that sort of idea of that we can help normal people feel amazing and not overcomplicate the industry. We don't have to sell keto diets and sell out in order to get people feeling great. We can do it just in an organic way. And then when we went into business, we understand that, whenever we have a discussion, we understand that one might be more passionate about a decision than the other. And we've got to understand, okay, like if we collect each other's information and go, right, I agree, you feel really strongly about this. I back your opinion because you feel way more stronger than me. Let's go all in. Because like Matt said earlier, if we fail, then we just go back to step one and then we move forward again. So with a partnership, because when we started, I had this with a lot of people. We were saying, don't go into partnerships. It's risky. But for me, I've got someone with me that is working the same level of hardness that's trying to drive the business forward as hard as me. I don't think I'm going to get that with an employee. And also, he covers so many other bases. And we're very different personality types. Matt is very driven. He's very focused on numbers, and he's really put into the philosophy of sales, like understanding the nuance of the game. Because you know this, it's not something that you can just pick up sales. You have to treat it like genuinely an art form. You have to learn it, and it's constantly changing. And he's done that with Body Fresh, which has been amazing. And then for me, I've always been a bit of a one-to-one person, human sort of care and understanding people and what makes them tick and trying to help people feel their very best. And so we leverage each other out. And then what we become is the same person. He's now great at helping delivery and helping people. And he's helping making me stronger and understanding objections and dealing with that side of things.
So you complement each other in terms of your skill sets in the business and around what you're doing. How often are you meeting, either like face to face or on Zoom or?
We talk every day, like several times a day. There's literally not a minute because so going back into the partnership thing. When we first decided to become partners, like Mike said, we were getting a lot of noise from a lot of camps behind us as individuals saying, do not do it. We were warned. But we sort of sat down very early doors and we even said that. We said, look, everybody's warning us not to do this, right? But let's lay this all out. And what's the vision here? And I explained to Mike, my vision for Body Fresh Fitness, why I'd got it together. Was his vision aligning to that? Because if it didn't in any way, then it's probably not worth going forward. But it really did. It really clicked and gelled. And I was in the process of looking for sites at the time, we were working at Everyone Active, and I was looking for the sites. I hadn't told anybody this, it was just close to my chest, and we were painting a wall one evening in Everyone Active, and Mike said to me, oh, what's this Body Fresh Fitness thing that you've got? Because my cards in the gym had the orange and it stood out from everybody else. And I said, well, it's my company and I'm looking to grow this and this is my big vision. And actually, don't say too much, but now I'm a full-blown PT, I'm looking to leave with those clients to a site of my own. And Mike said, I might have somewhere we could go. And that's when the discussion came about where we are now and how that kind of all unraveled. But we sort of sat down and we said, look, this is what the vision is going to be for the business. This is what we would do as early roles. We would align with these. We had agreed to those. We wrote an agreement down very, very early, like a partnership agreement. So whilst we're both friends, everything goes down on paper with a good agreement on what we're doing. And there's clauses in there if we wanted to get out or whatever. And it felt really safe and the good thing to do. We just didn't go into it with our eyes shut. We just covered all bases. And then there has to always be that inevitable leap of faith, like in anything, where you just go, right, let's just go. And then let's just see what happens. And so far, it's, 6-7 years down the line, it's going okay.
So there is a legal component involved?
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. Few reasons. One, the vision's not aligned, or it is to start with, and then they just drift apart. And then two, there's no documentation signed of like, this is a formal company, this is what we're doing, this is how we exit, and so on. What would you say to someone who's considering, say, opening a fitness business, a gym, a studio, and they're considering taking on a partner to assist them?
Again, you've got to listen to the warning signs around you. You can't ignore them because they're coming from good places, and often they're coming from people that maybe even have the experience in what they're talking about. So you have to kind of throw everything onto the table. And if your partner's good, or potential partner's good, you'd be able to work through all the good and bad points. You're not just going to get blinded by the shiny dreams that you've both got. You're going to look at the horrible realities that come with that. And you're going to sort of sit there and you need to be able to say, right, what is your role going to be? What is my role going to be? Are we going to be 50-50? Is there going to be a different split? Because very early on we said we're going to be 50-50, but then we very quickly went, okay, well, what does that mean? Because inevitably at some point, one of you might be doing more work than the other, but you've agreed a 50-50 split. So when I'm doing more work and Mike's maybe doing less, or not that this happens, but as an example, I've got to still be happy with this agreement because we put it in place. So you need to understand exactly what you want to do in terms of your vision and your goals and your aspirations and all the fun stuff. But then you need to look at all the nitty-gritty as well and just really have a clear path on who's doing what the agreement is, and obviously have your exits and clauses in there to get you out if you need to.
We made mistakes along the way as well. Like when we first started, we tried to dual everything. We tried to genuinely do everything doubling up. So Matt would take a set amount of members, he'd look after them. I would do the same. We shared sales. We shared everything. And what we realised sort of early on, didn't we, that wasn't going to work, because then it's kind of like anything in life. If you do something part-time, you're never going to become an expert in the field. You have to drive into it. So we started to realise, okay, you were driving into the sales and it was like, right, okay, let's split down the middle. I'm in charge of facilities and member journey and care and staff, and Matt was going to go into sales and marketing and any other sort of nuances that come with that. And once we did that, that kind of helped us make a jump forward as partners, because we were just trying to cover too many bases and we end up just getting ourselves stretched. So yeah, like in terms of the hats, that was what we learned early. It's like, have a clear focus, know each other's strengths, because I'm not the strongest salesman in the world. And we knew that. And also, but I am good, I said, retaining members and care. So it was like, right, let's know what we're good at and let's spend most of our time and energy into the things we're good at, instead of trying to become hybrid owners, which was just a waste of energy, really.
So having those clear job descriptions, tasks that need to be
done. That changed the game for us, because Mike's right. We sort of entered into this not knowing anything. So you just try and cover all bases. And when you're first growing your gym, as you know, you're putting out fires daily and you're running on empty and you're trying to cover it all. I read a book called Traction. I can't remember the author, but it talked about, you've got to have clear, defined roles within your business. Like Mike just said, hats there. And we were like, well, actually, I'm doing more sort of sales marketing. It's probably better if I focus more of my attention there. We're probably going to do a better job. And if you focus more of your attention there, because you're better at dealing with people and member journey and customer care than I am, you focus there. Both these levels are going to become really, really good. But we were just diluting them by trying to do a bit of everything. So just having those clear, defined roles really, really helps drive the business forward.
How often are you on the coaching floor?
Now, I'm doing about 6 to 7 hours.
Yeah, about 10 hours
a week
for me.
And previously?
Upwards of 15 a week.
It's slid over the years. I mean, when we first started, we were doing about 20 hours each of coaching on the floor, plus then around 20 to 25 hours of personal training on the side, plus trying to grow the business, almost like the part-time side of it. And then as each year's gone by, we've reduced by 5 hours. It went to 15. the year before the last financial year, and then it went down to 10 this year, which is great, because that's another thing with like scaling. And if I would say give advice to anyone at home, is you want to do it all, and there's so many things you can do, but if you are delivering or on the shop floor, you're not able to grow your business properly. But it's hard, because the more you pull yourself out, the more potential income you lose, because you have to then staff. But the best things we ever did was make those leaps of faith and go, okay, let's run at a loss, or let's take a loan and pay the staff, because we know that if we're more hands-on in the business, it will grow more rapidly. And that 100% has happened for us. We've done it a few times over the years. I remember one time we were living off of a grant just to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And it's always helped us and made us grow more.
Let's go back to the story. So, Matt, you had qualified YMCA, and then you called Mike up to work in the gym that you was managing.
So
Yeah.
Yep, cool. Let's go. Yeah, continue on that story to just connect the dots.
Yeah, so I mean, Matt called up. I mean, we was having a problem with staff at the time, and I remember having a phone call with Matt, and he just seems such a nice, normal person. And I was desperate to try and get him on board. And he came in for an interview, and I do make a little bit of a joke of it that I was his boss for a little period of time. But it was a really tough interview, because we had a regional manager decide to turn up on the
What was the gym or health club?
So everyone active.
Okay.
Yeah, so a bit leisure, and obviously, like, shop floor, it's minimum age work. And Matt came with the intention that he wanted to get on the shop floor and learn the trade, but also he wanted to grow his personal training business. And he got grilled in the interview because the regional manager turned up for the day. It was really funny, because most people, like, usually get teenagers or 19, 20-year-olds come into the PT business, they sort of crumble. Where Matt actually pushed back in the interview and was like, "What are we doing here? I'm just I want to personal train and do fitness." And that's straight away I knew, okay, I like this guy, because he's got a backbone. And I remember as he was going out the door, I quickly took him on the set and went, "Look, she never comes in here. Please come work at this gym. You'll do really well." And we talked about it on the way here today. I probably didn't grab you.
If he hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have done it, because I just come from a very toxic corporate world where everybody was trying to stab each other in the back. I didn't want to go into another environment. I was getting into fitness to do completely opposite to that. So then when I went into this interview, I was like, hold on a second, I'm minimum wage. I'm going to be cleaning treadmills. That's just this ain't The Apprentice. So he had a conversation with me on the stairs, and I was like, do you know what? I massively respect that. And I said, look, do you mind if you just give me the weekend to just think this over? And I'll never forget it, because I was like, what person would give me that rope to do that? Because I knew how desperate he was to get people in. And I was like, yeah, big respect for him to give me that time frame. And I called him back on a Monday. I went, listen, I said to my wife, I said, look, Mike's really nice. I felt a bond with Mike, because I was like, he's so down the line. We're very similar. We're different, but we're very similar in certain. It's hard to explain. And I was like, I really respect that, and I'm going to go just because Mike's there, and I feel that is the right thing to do. And we did. And then very, very quickly we'd start having chats on the desk, as you're swiping people in, going, welcome to everyone active, welcome to everyone active. In between, we started chatting about nutrition, like visions of our future and things like this. And I loved that, because at the time I was on this growth mindset of like, I've got 6 months, my money's out. I was getting married at the same time. So that 6 months money went down to 4 months money. And I was like, I've got to be working quick here. So I was trying to absorb everything as much as I could, as quick as I could, like an absolute sponge, to just try and like get myself this facility and start building this dream. So yeah, the conversation, I said to Mike, really, he was my first mentor, really, because I didn't know anything. And he started to teach me about how to get clients on the shop floor. So I was like, how do I get these clients now? And he's like, right, you can try this, offer them this, offer them that.
Can we just delve into that? Because a lot of people watching this will be on the shop floor right now looking to get clients. So from your knowledge of working in health clubs and so on, and from going from zero to fully booked, can you just give some info and knowledge on, if I'm coming in similar to your situation, or if I'm struggling to get clients on the gym floor, what can I do to help people make money?
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest bit of advice I'd give it is just know your numbers and break down personal training in layers. So you have layer number one, which is your acquisition, so your ability to attract a lead. So you've got to know that number, like how many leads are you generating? So obviously shop floor wise, it's going to have communications, trying to sell into your induction or your programming session, or just genuinely going around and talking to people, and then your advertising you have in the gym. And you've got to try and dataize that, like how many people am I speaking to per day, and how many of them are booking into trials. And then from that, from the lead generation and into trials, how many of those trials are firstly turning up? So you have to go almost to the extra detail. Are you texting them a day before? Hey, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Make sure they actually show up. Like the whole build up has to be broken down into like layers and really treating it to every finite bit. And then if they turn up, how many of those have turned up? Great. If it's 100% and there's nothing wrong with your warming up and building them into that first session, then it's about whether they upgrade. So then that's your ability to perform a high quality session. But importantly, have you pitched to them during the session that this is something that they're going to benefit from, something that they're going to want to part ways with in terms of finances. And then after that layer is then how do they retain? Do they renew after the first 10 sessions? And then you have to look at that detail. And then you can break that all down and go, okay, right, do you know what? I'm getting good leads, but I'm not getting many trials. Okay, fine, it's my text, my warm up. I'm getting loads of trials, but they're not actually paying me. It's my salesmanship or my delivery. And if they are going that stage, but they're only staying 1 month, then it's my retention, it's how I'm looking after it, it's my product of my performance as a personal trainer. You break all those down, and there's so much information out there to how to get those things right. You'll grow. And that's the thing that Matt did really well when I first met him, is we just had every single layer and we just broke it down into percentages. Usually the hard one is lead gen. Is like, can you actually generate leads? And people don't want to get outside their comfort zone. I went through a different layer of it because Matt had come in on the shop floor, and with that gym, it was quite an affluent town. And so you could, with a 2,000 membership base, there's a lot of people you could tap into text and things like that, advertise on Facebook. But when we went to the rugby club and we started a PT just as one-to-one PTs then, I had to go back to basics. I was back to being a shop floor PT then. It was kind of a bit of how do you organically grow with no one around? There's no people walking in your gym with a fitness mindset. You're just in this little box room by yourself trying to generate. And, a lot of that had to be word of mouth and go and do it sort of the organic way first. And I always remember when Matt was coming over, he was like, I'm not generating like I was on the shop floor. Suddenly the game's changed. And I remember saying to him, look, you're going to have to get into the rugby community and start meeting people and talking to people. And exactly what he did. He booked himself for a lunch, got drunk with a load of the old boys. And then the next week he come down, he's already pitched and gained 5 more clients just from going to rugby lunch with 100 people. So getting your face out there, and that's out your comfort zone.
Oh, massively, because I'm a massive introvert. I'm a really quiet bloke, and that's not me. So for me to do that, I was like, right, I'm going to have to do this. Thank God it's a lunch and we can get drunk. So we used to go up there, and then I started booking all these lunches, and then I'd come back with another 5 clients, and it was just like a bit of a joke, wasn't it? It's like, it's another lunch, another 5 clients. And then suddenly I was fully booked, and it worked kind of thing.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, and that's what sales is as well. It's actually having that ability to get outside your comfort zone. And eventually, when you live in that world now, it's nothing. But initially, I remember, my first sales call when we come on with you guys, and I was shaking. I was doing, and bear in mind, I've worked in the gym for nearly 10 years, and I was genuinely shaking on the phone during the first call. And the only way you could break through that is ensuring that you've got enough knowledge to feel confident, but more importantly, just keep dialing.
Doing it.
Yeah, reps.
Yeah.
Reps.
Everything you do first time, right?
Yeah.
Scary, nervous. And going back to the PTs who are listening to this, who are on the gym floor, the takeaway for me is confidence. Like, just go up and talk to people and engage them. I go into so many like commercial gyms, low cost gyms, and there's so many people working out, which is fantastic to see. But then the PT's hiding behind the computer on the desk, and I'm like, whatever you're doing can't be that important. You should just be out there shaking hands, introducing yourself, giving little tips and tricks. Of course, there's always going to be a segment of the gym bros in there that don't want help, or but there's other people that do want help, and you just got to talk to them.
I used to go to the sales office, and I used to buy them Costa coffees, and then I used to start chatting with them, just with the notion of I wanted to try and see what they were doing. And then eventually the sales manager, he was talking about how he wanted to get in shape for a holiday, and I said, I'll train you. And he said, oh, would you? I went, yeah, for free. And he said, okay. I said, but for everybody that you sign up new, gets a free taster with me. And he was like, done. So every time somebody would get signed up and they was doing aggressive sales targets for that gym, I was getting tasters left, right and centre. All the other PTs were asking me, how are you getting on his tasters? And it was just because of that conversation.
And that relationship
that I built. And I've been going down there for weeks, just like, how you doing, guys? Just conversations, not always with gifts, just to say hello. And it was just that chance came.
Well, I think also another takeaway for me is that rugby element, and we'll come on to the rugby connection in a bit, but the fact that you're going out networking. So many people hide behind meta ads. Oh, just meta ads, give me those leads. And they're not doing the hard work of going out face to face, shaking hands, meeting people, because one, it's time consuming, two is the confidence level of doing it, and that's where real relationships. I'm pretty sure you probably still got clients that you met at that rugby dinner.
Yeah,
with you today. Yeah. So let's connect the dots further. So you started the brand Body Fresh Fitness in that gym.
Yeah, before I even got to that gym. So it was one of the first things, like I said, when I decided I wanted to do it, I wanted to go full in. And rightly or wrongly, I just went straight to 20 years down the line, there's a big facility somewhere and it's got a name on it. And I was like, I didn't want it to be my name. I wanted it to be a name because I envisioned in my future, not me being there, that people are running it and it's something that I owned or co-owned or whatever, but that was the big game. And I reverse engineered back from there. So I was like, right, what do I want to call this thing? Came up with this name, came up with the branding idea, and then went about touting for business, basically, for PT. And then from the PT, people started asking me about what it is. And then Mike was one of those. So I started to become a very I had a website, Body Fresh Fitness. I had all my social media was Body Fresh Fitness, and everybody else was, John Smith, PT, whatever. And so it was making me stand out a little bit then. I guess more people do it now, but then there wasn't as many people, certainly around sort of our area, that was really doing it. So I was standing out like a sore thumb. But in a good way, because people would then be inquisitive, what is it? And that was long enough for me to either have a conversation with you or for you to read a blurb or click a button or whatever and come through to speak to me. And then, I started to build this personal training business. I was really happy with it. And I could have stayed there because I was earning good money and I was getting quite happy. I was like, wow, it's this is a big turnaround. The gamble paid off. It was made redundant only, a few months ago, and now I'm doing quite well. So I was quite happy in that sort of sense, but I wanted that bigger vision. And so my mind started to go very quickly to, how do I make this bigger now? How do I go on my own? How do I get the facility? Had no idea what to do for the next steps. And it was right, who do I talk to? Are there clients that I can speak to? Are there other people that I can speak to? Are there estate agents I need to speak to? I started to look around that sort of area. When, like I said, the conversation popped up with Mike one day when we were in the gym, where he sort of said the same sort of thing. What's this Body Fresh Fitness thing? And we went into a bit of a conversation about it. And then he said, I might have a venue that we could potentially use if we work together. And that sort of transitioned to that.
What stood out to me the most is because, like Matt said there, everyone tends to call their business their name, which is fine. But because it wasn't his name and he called it, Body Fresh, the name's not important. What's important is he didn't make it about himself. He made it about the community that he was trying to build. And coming through rugby, and you'll know this as well, Ben, is that rugby's a community. What makes people love it is it gives them a sense of purpose. It's a family. People go there, they enjoy a sport together, but also they grow together as people. As a kid, I had so many parents in my youth team helping guide me, telling me what college I should go to and, what's right and wrong and why you shouldn't kick off if you're not getting selected, things that really steered your path. And, what I realised with Matt's business is he's hit something here. It's not about him. It's about the people who he's trying to help. And that meant something to me. And I was like, okay, well, I want to build my own community where we're helping people and enriching people and helping them in different ways in making good lifestyle choices, making them actually prolong not just the length of their life, but the quality of their lives. And it just really struck a chord with me. It's like, okay, right, it's not making it about him, it's about actually helping people. And then that's why I was like, right, I need a piece of this. Let me get involved. And then when I said, look, I've got potentially, because this is where this all come about, is because I was playing for Harlow Rugby Club at the time, and they were just going through a move from an old ground to this big new facility. And it was a big change. It was like a shed-based rugby club into this sort of brand new, I think, £5 million facility. And they basically said to me when I was playing at times, look, would you come and potentially run a gym there? And that was in the pipeline for nearly 2 years. Nothing actually really come of it. And they never purpose-built a gym there. It was only one day the head coach at the time came up to me and said, took me into one of the kit rooms, and it was just a muddy, dipped floor drainage room with a storage punch bags, rugby tackle bags. And they were like, right, you can have this as your gym. I was like, really? And it was tiny. It was like genuinely, probably about 4 by 6 meters, little room. And literally overnight, it was when I then started to speak to Matt, said, look, I've got this room. do you want to sort of take a punt and we'll try and build something together? And then we did. And I took, that's because I'd always been employed. I'd never been a self-employed PT. And like I said, I moved up through the ranks through fitness. I've become a GM. I didn't like the GM because it was just numbers, but also you're still run by a company and you do their philosophies, which is a bit different because it just treats people like cattle. And that's not something that I enjoy doing. I like working and helping people. So when I went back to fitness management, I wasn't quite satisfied because I was just in a different company doing the same thing. So this was a chance to really branch out and do our own thing. And I like I said, I really was pleased with what Matt was doing. So I was like, right, let's come over and let's try and do something. And we started off in this tiny little room, and it was one squat rack at one end, one squat rack at the other end. That's all we could fit in.
Yeah, you go that end, I'll go this end. And that as it was.
It was personal training,
But we loved it.
It was good.
It was like we had that freedom. It felt like exciting.
What year was this?
2018?
Something.
2018.
Yes, sir. Couple of takeaways for me. One is the branding of a company name rather than an individual. So many gym owners will call their gym their name, and the quicker they can move away from that, the better, because consumers see that name and then they want that person whose name's above the door. Where you want to create that brand, that system. A lot of online coaches, their business is their name, but the ones that are most successful, they have a method that they use. So like a good example for me would be like Joe Wicks. Everyone knows his name, but the system that he uses to get people fit is like Lean in 15, or he has a different name for it. So if you're a gym owner, definitely 100% create a brand. If you're an online coach, use your personal name for sure. But then I think create a system, a brand name for the mechanism that gets people the result. And then the next thing was the rugby club connection. So one thing that we hear a lot is a lot of personal trainers passionate about the industry. They don't want to leave it, but they've hit a ceiling income-wise in the gym. They're frustrated in the gym, the commercial gym that they're working, and they want to take the leap of faith, but they can't find a unit that makes commercial sense for them to move out of. But there's so many rugby clubs, football, hockey in Ireland, like Gaelic football clubs, that they need money, these clubs, amateur clubs, and they have space, either outdoors or indoors. And it's definitely, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And in your case, you were connected to the club and that opened up the doors. And fast forward to now, that's where you're still based.
Yeah, still based at Hull Rugby Club, yeah. And we're with them for another 6-7 years in terms of our lease, so we'll be with them for a long period of time.
Let's just talk about that lease, because a lot of people, they could potentially get, rent some space at a club, but like you went down the proper route of securing an actual lease. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, so I mean, there was two things. So initially, we went to this tiny little kit room and we kitted it out, and it was working very well. We became very successful PTs in our own right, singular thing at that time, under the umbrella of Body Fresh Fitness. And then we started to think, right, we now need to expand because that's the next stage. So we decided to build a plan around building an extension off the side of our building. So we could stay in the location because we were successful there, and it's a nice ground. So we started to build that and put that all together. And then once we got that together, it was like finding the model of what we were going to run. And this is where we made probably our first mistake, because we decided, right, we'll still be PTs, but we'll do like an open gym, like your sort of pure gym model, like cheap as chips, come in, use the gym whenever you want kind of thing. And that's where really what we that was our first mistake. But we were young into it, and sort of like you came from sort of that background, and it was a really solid kind of model that we had on paper, and we were like, yeah, this would work. That's all. So yeah, exactly. We didn't know. We weren't with you guys at this time. We hadn't had any sort of mentorship from people at this point. So we were really just kind of going on knowledge that we knew and what we'd came from. And we built that area, and we started to like get ready to open like this open gym sort of model.
So basically, because I've seen this loads, so open gym, how much was the price point?
Oh, £25.
And they can come, 6 in the morning till 10 at night, or
we did it split, didn't we? We did it 6 till 10.
Then we'd close, and then we'd
close during the day, and we would split shifts. So like I'd work all the mornings one week, Matt would work all the evenings the other. And it was painful. We were PTing
at the same time.
Yeah.
And then would people get an induction when they came in, or
no, not really. We were doing we weren't doing telephone sales. We were coming in, weren't we, taking payments, and then it was 3 months. We got to about 47 members, And then it was 3 months in, and then COVID.
Yeah. So we put all our savings, every bit of money that we had, that we'd grown, and we put it all into this extension, build it all up there. This is like 2019. In December, we finished it, and we launched in January 2020. And then, of course, March, we closed. And we were like, oh dear. And then, but in a positive way, it gave us time to slow down and think, because we'd already done that model for like 2.5 months, say, and we'd already realised that this probably isn't the best model for us, but we would have continued, because that's the way we are. We'd have continued to just keep thrashing that out and grow to targets that we had on our sheet of paper.
Were you fully booked as individual PTs?
Yeah, pretty much at that point. Yeah.
So that was your wage, I guess.
Exactly.
And then the income from the gym was just for the business, or
The idea is we had in our head that we could get to a certain number. But the issue is when you're a small facility and it's £25, and you've got pure gyms and budget gyms down the road that are £20, and they have way more equipment than you, and
24 hours.
24 hours. You can't compete. And I think going back on what Matt said there, we suffered in COVID because we threw all our savings into it, and then we were doing like online PT. I was trying to work with businesses online. It was a firefight, which was for everyone. And then it was only when we came out, and basically they made that rule of 6 where you can train outside only. And there's a forecourt area by our gym, so we started to train in that outside area. And because it was rules of 6, we started to train 6 people just by that rule itself. And then once the restrictions come off, we decided, these classes in groups of 6 are quite popular. So we were doing sort of slightly large, up to 10 people. And for £25 a month, they were getting access to the open gym. And then we're running one class every evening. I was this is something there in that. So then we started to try and advertise. And I always remember, because we had absolutely no money, no real income. It's like, let's put £400 down on ads. And that's what we did. And we got one lead, and it was a dud. And we were like, we thought we just pumped the money into the machine and we're going to get leads back. And we're like, there's something's really wrong here. And then it was only because I saw Gavin at GWD. I know one of the guys that works at his gym. I saw online they did 100 pre-sale for his gym during COVID. And I thought, how the hell? We spent 400 quid, we didn't get one lead. He's got 100 pre-sale on his gym. And I didn't understand how they'd done it. So I called him up. It was Joe. And I called him up and said, how have you done it? And he went, with you guys, you should give him a call. So that's when we jumped on a Zoom with you. And that's when kind of our world opened up a little bit, because you sat down in that call and said, £25 a month, that's not going to work. And you need to change what you're doing. And you mentioned like remodeling and doing a sort of like a remodeling in terms of a large group and a small group program. And that's when really things pivoted for us from going and scrambling. I think we made about $3,000 in our first year. And suddenly we met you, and it just completely changed. And then we decided to completely remodel our product and went from there, really.
Nice. Joe, I know Joe. Do you know him through the rugby world, I guess?
I played with Joe, yeah. Played with Joe at Luton,
yeah. Nice. Well, that's amazing. Well, first of all, you're open to change. So many gym owners stuck in their ways. Like, no, it has to be my way. No, I can't possibly get help. So you guys tapped into some help and you're willing to change. What would you say to the gym owner right now who's in your position back then, where they, 15, 20 years ago, a £25, £30 a month health club-esque open gym model was fine because there was no gym groups, pure gyms, low cost corporate commercial massive gyms, and so they could dominate the town and have as many clients as possible, and then they would PT inside of that gym. What would you say to that gym owner who's maybe still running that model? Like, why should they switch it up?
I'll be honest, it's not just not just the reasons of financially, in order to be able to actually have a gym that is going to make money so that you can live off that. It's one point of what it does and the product you deliver. We all come into the industry mainly for the same reason. We like helping people and changing their lives for the good, for health. Those large gym models are not great because it's not proper coaching. People genuinely need to go through a phase in their life where they have personal training, or they need to be coached how to look after the body in terms of in the gym technique and how to safely train, mobility, all the things that come with it, but also the lifestyle. And that comes through personal training, actual coaching. No one goes into another industry and thinks they can be an expert straight away. You have to get with someone who's a good coach that will teach you the ways of fitness. And if you're going to run a budget gym, you're never going to do that with your guys. They're going to come, they're going to use the equipment, they're going to go home, they're never going to get that support. So if you really genuinely want to do something that makes it feel like you're making a difference, the personal training model is got to be the way to go. And also, there is then a higher ticket.
The small group personal
small group
training.
and large group, yeah. For sure.
I think I just want to add more to that is there's a lot of lower cost gyms that are independent that are doing extremely well in terms of revenue, profit and client numbers, but their facility is top notch. Like they've had investment or they've pumped their own money into that gym. And, if a pure gym opens up down the road, doesn't matter because their equipment, their gym is on par, if not better than the pure gym. So even though they might be charging 35, 40, 45 a month for open gym, it doesn't matter. Their members are going to stick and stay. And where I was going with it, if it's more of a gym that's not had big financial infrastructure behind it and the kit's maybe a little bit dated, that, like you said, that's when you can't compete financially on some paper. But where you can compete is in service coaching. And I think what you said ultimately is that you got into this industry to change people's lives. Open gym, unless you're very sophisticated at training yourself, most people don't get results doing open gym.
That's true.
So when they have the guidance of a coach in a small group or even one-on-one, that's when they accelerate the results and they ultimately get what they pay for.
Yeah, 100%.
So COVID hit, COVID disrupted everything, COVID went. When did you join FMA?
2021. Back end, wasn't it?
Yeah, in October,
Yeah.
Changed the model gradually. I guess it wasn't overnight.
Yeah. We went to large group first because the facility kind of lent its hand to that quicker, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it probably was a bit of a mistake. We didn't believe that the facility was good enough or big enough to hold small group. We had a lot of kit in there and it was designed originally for
Open gym.
So it didn't have 6 even squat racks to run a small group product. So we decided that we had this good outdoor space. We'd already, built confidence there through doing outside training during the sort of the COVID restrictions. So we went out for a large group model for the first year, didn't we?
Yes. Yeah.
And I always remember because we spoke to you on the phone, we were scared about the price points. I think you remember what was it that you said before? You said about like going up to sort of like this £90 mark.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't believe it because we never thought anyone in Harlow would take that price point. We just thought we'd get people to no chance, not realising that it's what they get and the service that they get is the reason why they pay that. So having that confidence from you guys to say, no, this is the right thing to do to value your product, again, changed their mindset. I was more fearful. You was like, you was a bit more better than me, weren't you? But I was like, how can you charge someone in Harlow this amount of money? The town is full of budget gyms. And you said the analogy, like, there's people driving Land Rovers and living in affluent areas in Harlow. What are they doing for their fitness? And it opened up our minds a little bit of like the sort of the customer that we can get.
I've used that line a few times. Yeah. There's a few people. A few people that are scared to put up their price, and I've been through it, and every business owner's been through it. Do I raise my rates? Do I keep the same fee? And the line that I say to a lot of FMA members is, in your town, if I was to go on Rightmove or Zoopla or an estate agent real estate website, could I find a house for $500,000 and more? And in most areas, the answer is yes, depending where you are in the world. And in your town, city, village, are people driving around in BMWs, Audis, Range Rovers, and higher spec cars? And the answer is yes. So if they can do that, then most probably they can afford to pay upwards of £100 for coaching in a small group. So you guys did that transition. So what I really want the listeners and people watching this to understand is it didn't happen overnight, right? It's not like you just pulled the plaster off and you just quickly switched everything. It's that gradual steps, which is absolutely fine. You don't have to sprint straight away. Yeah. It's about the gradual changes. So just talk me through that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what you can always relate a lot of this stuff back to like what you would deal with your clients. When you get somebody who wants to lose 2 stone in body fat, you're not going to lose 2 stone next week, but we might lose 2. And if we keep doing that, that's going to have a compounding effect over time. And then eventually you'll turn around and go, wow, look at the journey we've had. And it's exactly the same thing with business. What we found is all the small little steps all compound over time. Then when you look back, you see these big changes either from what you're delivering in terms of your finances or whatever else it could be, and then but you don't feel them as you're going along the way because it's all small. But we made lots of mistakes in that time, so we'd take maybe 4 steps forward and then make a mistake and take another couple back, and then we'd have to dust off and go again. So it goes up and down. It's not like linear. So again, it's just trying to keep yourself focused on the big goal and the vision. And again, having the help and support with the right people around you, the coaching that you get as a business, really, really helps. Because again, as a coach for people, helping them with their health and fitness, it's quite easy to just, push the fuck it button and just go, that's it, I'm done. But when you've got that support and that guidance around you, you can dust off, you can reevaluate, you can go again, you can pick yourself up, and then you can go to the next level that you need to do. So yeah, it was a crazy journey when we look back, and there was lots of mistakes and very painful mistakes that we made. But looking back, it's all been in a positive way. It didn't feel great at the time, but looking back, it was kind of needed.
If I was to come into your facility now, what's on the menu? What's the service?
So we have a hybrid of semi-private personal training sessions, and we also have teams, which is groups of 20, and our semi-private is groups of 6.
And how many members are you at?
Currently sitting at 145 members.
And you doing any one-on-one PT?
We still do now.
A bit, a little bit each.
Tiny bit. I do like 4.
A few key people?
Yeah, just like long-term people.
Long-term people.
Yeah.
Yep. Excellent. And let's break down each component of the business. You mentioned it a few times, sales. So that's your responsibility, Matt. Yeah. So talk me through the sales process, some of the common objections that you get, how you're signing people up.
Yeah, so we will set an ad live, and then we will get people obviously opt in, and then I will put at the end of the thank you page an option for them to book a call in with me. So there's option 1 there for them to try and book. I'm trying to funnel people in to book a call with me as best as I can. If they don't do that, an automated message goes out to them on WhatsApp to say, hey, got your inquiry. Just to let you know, I'm going to be calling you within the next 24 hours. However, if there's a specific time that would suit your schedule, click the link below. We can book in at a more convenient time. Second touch point of trying to book them in for a call. And then I'll start to dial. And then what I'll do is I'll go into my bucket every day, and I'll just see the list of leads. In the beginning of a fresh campaign, there might be, 2, 3, 4, 5 leads, and I'll just call them. And I'll call them maybe 2, 3, 4 times in that first day at different points throughout the day to just try and get hold of them. I'll leave a voicemail, and if I can't get hold of them by the end of that day, I might drop them a message just to say, hey, tried to get hold of you today. Don't worry, you can still book in with me. I might maybe send them the link again. Maybe you didn't see this link. And then I will just continue to keep dialing until I get that pickup. And then when I get the pickup, I will just go through my sales script, which I developed years ago now. I came down to one of your sales boot camps, worked with Luke. He gave me a good framework. And from that, it kind of opens Pandora's box for me really on sales, because I was like, whoa, this is cool. So I've built up a completely different sort of script now. I don't sort of read the script anymore. It's kind of lodged in my brain. And I'll take them through that pitch, and I will just be trying to find out how I can help them and whether or not I think that we can help them. And if I don't think we can help you, I'll give you some recommendations of what you might be looking for. And if I think we can help you, I'll give you some of the options that I think might work for you, and we can kind of go from there. And common objections are all your big key ones. I want to think about it. It's too expensive. I need to talk to my wife. All that kind of stuff. But I quite enjoy it in a really weird way, because some days I'm like, this is a slog. But in general, I really enjoy the sales process.
How are you overcoming those most common objections?
Normally, if you'll get an objection, it's because something you've said in that call, you've not won them over yet. So they're trying to throw you a smoke screen. So I want to think about your objection is something that they don't like what you've said or what your service is delivering, or maybe something else that they just don't feel comfortable telling you right now. And it could just be trust in you and what you've said and how you've delivered it. It could be your tonality that was off. It's put them off. So their politeness is, it all sounds really cool. I just want to think about it. Cool. So to get round it is a difficult one. Again, it's a bit of a dancing competition, and it's just trying to find out from that prospect as early as you possibly can, before you even get to that objection, can I stop that objection from even happening in the first place? So how do I do that? So what I do in my sales calls is I just try and figure out all the common objections of, I need to speak to my partner, for example. I might ask that very early on in the call. Like, okay, so is there anybody at home that you're with right now that might need to, help you with any of these meals that we might be looking to do for you? So I'm fishing for, have you got a partner? And if they say, no, look, my husband, I do the majority of the cooking for my husband. I go, okay, what does just out of interest, what does your husband think about you doing this fitness journey? Because then if I'm getting right there, he's cool with it, then I'm less likely to get that I need to speak to my husband about it, objections. So I'm kind of ticking that one off the list early. But getting around objections is a skill. And you have to get a few different tools sharpened up for it, because I might not always use the same response for the same objection, depending on the person I'm speaking to. So it's a fun.
I want to think about it. Objection. It comes down to, you mentioned it earlier, procrastination.
It is, yeah.
A lot of people have this massive habit of just procrastinating on everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes they need to be called out and coached on that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Sally, hey, Bob, you just told me that you've got this problem and you want to fix it now. 5 minutes later, you're telling me you need to think about it. So, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Right. What do you think about?
Yeah.
They're fearful, they're scared.
Exactly. Yeah. It's that, but they don't want to tell you that.
Yeah.
And it's trying to figure out in that phone call, getting them to lower the barriers enough for you to get in. So we're on that ground where it's going to be very unlikely you're going to give me that objection. But again, it's a hard thing to learn. But once you get into it, it's quite fun.
Let's talk about your mindset towards sales. You said about the pipeline. How often are you just told me earlier how many times you're dialing a lead per day. Can you just go into that a little bit more?
I feel like I'm on the phone constantly. My ear gets warm. I now just put it on speakerphone because I'm worried about my ear falling off. It's a case of I just dial just religiously. I actually get anxiety when it gets to midday if I'm not dialing, because for me, my pickup rates are really quite good from sort of 12 till 3. I guess people are on lunches maybe or taking afternoon breaks. I don't know, but I tend to get quite good pickup rates in that period of time. So if I'm not dialing, or if somebody books me in for something else, or I've got to do something else, I actually get quite anxious about I should be on the phone dialing.
And roughly, what's the price point of the front end offer? How long is it?
Front end, we've just switched a little bit. So it was 187 for 4 weeks, and then I would then have a second phone call with you at the end of that 4 weeks to see if you wanted to upgrade into our longer term rolling contracts. Now we're doing 3 month, so it's 157, 3 installments, and then it just becomes monthly rolling unless you decide you don't want to do it anymore.
What's the target per month roughly? How many sales front end?
20 is always my target. I like, but in the early days when our price point was a lot lower, so when we were selling sort of £75 to £90 memberships, I was getting a lot of volume in, and I was doing a completely different sales mindset to what I'm doing right now, and it was a bulldoze sales. Yeah, you telling me you were thinking about it, but why are you telling me this objection now? We've got to sell you. It's a hardball sale, and probably not the most nicest way to do a sale. But I was getting the sales.
Was that before you were trained, or like?
No, it was. I was trained, but I was then like, I just had the bit between my teeth. I wanted to get those sales in. I just become obsessed with getting numbers through the door and growing quick. But it was wrong because one, I was getting not people through the door that weren't the right fit. 2, the volume sometimes was just too hard for us to handle. 40 sales in a month might sound great.
That's what you were hitting.
Yeah, some months I was hitting 40 sales a month, and it's
That's large groups
at the time as well. Yeah, so like I said, price point was a little bit lower, but what we were finding is the retention then was just not manageable. So yeah, 40 sales have come through the door. Sounds great, but then half would leave.
When we have a new gymowner come on board with FMA and they've like worked with previous marketing companies or whatever, and they're like, oh, my target's big. It's always a red flag for us, because it's like, well, what's going on in the back end? Like, why, if you're signing up all these customers, why do you need loads more customers? Are you not keeping the customers?
That's exactly what we went through there. And so very, very quickly we realised this after a few months of that sort of sales volume. And it was like, right, where's a sweet spot for us? But also let's focus on quality rather than quantity, and we'll grow better. So now I won't actually sign people up if I don't think you're a good fit. And I see my sales calls as like mini interviews rather than a sales call. Like it's a mutual thing. If I don't think you're a good fit, I'm probably not going to bring you in here. But if I do think you're a good fit, let's do it. Let's go for it. And it keeps the community the way we want it to be as well. Because you can bring in some people that aren't good fits, and that could be bad for your community, and then overall it's bad for your business.
Do you think you just matured as a salesperson?
Yeah, 100%.
So at the start, eager, keen, want to sell to everyone. Now, a bit more protective of the community, and the pressure's off more because, when you're starting up and, obviously had overheads as any business does, but maybe things were a little bit tighter back then.
Yeah.
And it's that famous, saying commission breath. I know you weren't directly on commission, but obviously it's going into the business pot, right? So when you become a little bit needy on a sales call, people can pick up on that as well. Yeah,
and it'll trigger resistance a lot of the time. And if you trigger resistance on a sales call, then you're done, because people are just going to put the barriers back up. We've all done sales calls, and normally when you're getting a pickup, you're probably interrupting their day at some point, even though they've inquired with you, they've opted in. That's great. They are warm, if you like. You're probably ringing them up in their lunch hour. They might have just had a telling off by their boss. Things might not be great at home. They can be quite short with you. And so you work very hard in that front part of the call to really try and lower the barriers, so we can just have a good conversation, so I can just see whether or not I can help you or not. And then from there, if I then become a salesperson, the barriers go straight back up. So all that hard work that you've done from the front end of that call of trying to bring them into your fold and just talk to them one-to-one, look, I'm just trying to help you out, look, what's going on, tell me, maybe I can help you, to suddenly I go into salesman, then they go, people prospects, they figure this out very quickly, and the shutters come up, and then you're doomed, and then you're going to get every objection under the sun, because that's what's happening. The resistance has been triggered. So I try my best just to make that sales call sound as natural as like we're talking right now.
I want to keep going on sales, if that's all right. You mentioned you get people to book in ideally for a call. So a lot of gym owners listening to this, like at FMA, like we don't really care whatever method you use. There's a lot of gym owners that don't have a booking calendar in their marketing. There's some that do. You've probably done both. Why do you prefer to have the calendar?
One, for the scheduling for me, because I can sit down. I know I've got that person to speak to. I can warm them up prior to the phone call a bit better. So, I can say, right, this person is really, really intrigued into finding out some more. They've actually booked in a time with me. So therefore I can maybe send them a few more messages to, again, get that familiarity in place before we've even spoken to. And it just means that I know that they've probably carved out some time to speak to me. So I'm not catching them on the fly when they're just about to go into Tesco's and they don't really want to talk to me, but I'm going to try and break them down. And I've got a harder job. So it just makes my job a little bit easier just to go, right, cool, we've got 10 minutes. What's going on? Let's have a chat. And then we can have that free flow conversation, and it works better. And I think you'll convert more.
Roughly, from the leads that you're generating every single month, how many book a call? How many book a call but then don't show or answer the phone at that specific time?
So not many people will book a call historically, because what I would do historically would be I'd send them out a manual message. So that would be the lead comes through, I might be PTing, I've got a lead. An hour later, I'll send you a message manually, and that person's now not looking at that phone until 8:00 in the evening. They might have every intention of booking a call, so they don't. So historically, it wasn't that many people booking in a call. I've changed it probably only the last, since January, where the thank you page now pushes you to book a call, and I've got things set up on social media. Everything's trying to funnel you to book a call. Everything on our website is all about book a call, book a call, book a call. And then I've got these automations set up. So even when I'm asleep, you're getting a message from me saying book a call, book a call. So I can't give you an exact number, but it is considerably higher now. It's every single day I'm getting a call booked in, rather than go back to, I don't know, November last year, for example, and previous, that would not be happening. But now on repeat every single day, I'm getting calls just booked.
I think the takeaway here is to test.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Test the calendar. Test.
Yeah.
Take it off. Put it on.
Exactly. And in terms of like the no shows, well, that's okay. It's going to happen. So I try not to get too emotional about that. It's just they could be busy. I'm not going to think too much into it. I'll send them a message saying, "Hey, we've just had a call booked, but you didn't show. Hope everything's okay." My diary is pretty full at the moment. It's like a moving target. So why don't we try and schedule something else in, unless you've gone off the idea, and we'll just try and get you back into the game.
Last question on sales. What would you say to the gym owner who's listening to this? I didn't get into this industry to be a salesperson. I don't have time to do all of this sales work. I just want people to go to a link on my website and buy now and pay, 150, 200, 300 plus. Why is it so crucial that you as a business owner do sales?
Well, look at it this way. As a business owner, how many times do you just go to a link and buy something? It's probably not, unless it's very low value, something off of Amazon or something. It's very, very unlikely if you're going to buy anything of worth or of value that you're just going to click a link and buy. You probably need to speak to a human being about it. But we're in a personal training industry where things are personal and we're trying to build relationships and communities. So if you can't have a conversation with somebody about what you can potentially do, like to help somebody improve their lives with fitness, you've got an obligation to do it. This is what we're here to do, to grow our gyms, to grow our communities, to grow our businesses. Our business is to help people. So you've got to get on the phone and try and help people. And I understand it. You haven't got into the industry to, be into sales or whatever. But look at it this way. You're in the industry to help people. Can you do phone calls that might help people? And just try and change your mindset around it rather than looking at it as sales as a dirty word. Call it something else if you want. I look at my sales calls as interviews. It doesn't matter. Whatever gets you through it. It's like, I used to fear for sales because when we first started doing this whole thing and Mike was saying to me, right, we're going to have to just both become salesmen now. I was dreading it. My heart was going. I was like, oh my God, I'm an introvert, quiet guy. And for me to get on a sales call and just start talking to people was like, this doesn't fit me. Actually change your mindset around it. Well, I can talk to people every single day in the gym about how I can help them. Why can't I just do that on a phone call? All right, people will be mean to you from time to time, but just, grow thick skin quick.
Love it. I think also gym owner, if they are busy juggling a million things, that's fine.
Yeah.
Think entrepreneurial and potentially hire someone part-time. I'm sure there's a member that would love to represent the business and be on the phones for you. And, there's always alternatives. At FMA, we can help you get a salesperson. So while you're doing these sales calls, Mike, what are you doing in the business if you want to break down an element of that and we'll just sort of delve into it?
So obviously I'm in charge of like retention and member journey, and also I oversee the staff. We have a head coach now, which is great. So a lot of that's done by Kate, our head coach. So for me, when going back to probably part of the history, Matt was making these high volume sales when we were large group only. And I always remember there was a time where in July he hit our biggest sales target at the time, which was 20 sales. And then in August, we had 26 leavers. So we hit our biggest sales month, and then we had 6 who were out the door. And then August was a hard sales month for us. We only had 4. So that we were -2 after basically both of us working full time for 2 months to get -2 members. And that's when we realised that we had to look at our retention and how we're keeping hold of our members. And kind of like sales, stop treating it like feelings and treat it like numbers, because numbers don't lie. And you have to kind of, again, just like we did with the earlier at the start with when I first met Matt about breaking each section down, where are people falling off? So from their induction to their entry point after Matt's sale to their experience in coaching, where is it breaking down? Are people coming 1 week and not coming back after the first week, which we were having? Or are they not even turning up for the induction? Are they onboarding smoothly? Is it easy? So about 2 years ago, I read a book called Never Lose a Customer.
Both of those book Tractions and Never Lose a Customer, I swear.
There's they on there.
Yeah. If not, they're in that other bookshelf that you walk past.
I can see Traction.
There's the Traction, yeah. Both are great books.
Yeah.
Just repeat the books again because everyone should.
Yeah, so Never Lose a Customer is the one I read, which changed things.
And Traction.
So you're back to Never Lose a Customer.
Yeah, so and essentially, basically, we kind of, I break retention down in sort of 3 main sections. So the quality of product is still absolutely the most important thing. And that's down to staff and the coaching itself. So when they turn up to a facility, how are they made to feel? Are they getting a great experience? Is it a 5-star service? Because without those things, you can do as many touch points, you can look after people, but inevitably your product is still going to be 60, 70% of your retention. So you've got to make sure your staff are high quality, you're doing regular team meetings and you're looking after people and you're passionate and getting results through what you coach. But then after you do that, and we spent a lot of time on the quality of the product. Is the gym clean? Are you turning up to a messy facility? Is the kit falling apart? All those things we went through 2 years ago to make sure that when you walk into that gym, it's a high quality product and they're getting high delivery. But then after that, we looked at then the member journey itself. So from Matt's point of sale, we tried to get as many touch points from that point to their first session. And Matt said it when he was speaking about personal. It really matters that people actually feel like it's personal, because it is. And I see a lot of people, they talk about results driven gyms, but you don't know what the person's result outcome is what they want. A lot of people go, oh yeah, you want, come into the gym, fat loss, here's a fat loss guide, here's a plan. And then after 1 month, they haven't done it, they think they failed and they leave. And we were getting that because we thought everyone just wants fat loss or everyone just wants to get super fit. But realise actually what they really want is an active lifestyle, and they want to learn how to train their body so that they can have a long, decent, healthy life. So from initial induction from Matt, we do a lot of detail. So number one, once they sign up, within the first hour or two of Matt's done a sign up, as long as I'm not busy, I'll send him a video message and Matt will write down a blurb of everything that they've wanted. So, okay, right, John, he's 60, he's got a bit of a dodgy knee, but he wants to get back into fitness. His little grandkid wants to get fit for his grandkids. So straight away, I'll jump on a video message. I'll go, hey, John, it's great to see that you've come onto the program. I'm super excited to work with you. I've spoken to Matt. He's told me that you're looking for A, B, and C. We're going to help you with all of that. Next stage now, as I need you to come in for induction, show you around the facility. I'm going to make you feel super welcome. And more importantly, I want to get to know you, John. What are you about? And how can we make you feel better? And then I send in the link to which one he wants to do. Usually Matt books them in, actually, because, again, we were finding if they weren't booked, it was hard to nail them down. So they've got a time they know they're coming in. And then there's a follow-up straight after. Okay, right, John, in the meantime, download the app and here's a little video explaining what we do. And then they're booked in, and then on the day, always chase. Okay, John, you booked in for 6 o'clock today. Here's just a little mini survey, just because I'm going to add notes to your account. I want all the other trainers to see about what you want to achieve. So then they're already sort of, the amount of confidence I get in the induction, people going, wow.
Well, I'm blown away. And I think it's a massive golden nugget for everyone who's watching, listening, is that video message and the fact that you're relaying information. And because John, or whoever it is, has never experienced that ever in a fitness environment.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's it. And it's made a big difference. And when they come in for the induction, usually, like, depending on that week, so we run 2 a week, so it's usually 4 to 5. The first thing that we do is we just do them really a gentle showdown.
A group induction.
Group induction, yeah. And so we do 2 a week, and they have to book into the 2 slots. And if they can't do an induction, I'll do a Zoom. I won't let them not physically.
Is it not a physical session then?
It is a physical induction.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. And we got lucky at the rugby club because we have a nice meeting room. So straight away it's there. When they come upstairs, they have special water bowls for them ready to go, and we have the TV screen. So we want to set like that straight away, first impressions.
Okay, nice. Love it. So don't even go into the gym first of all, into a meeting room.
Straight into a meeting room. Yeah.
And what's on that screen? What's the presentation?
Welcome to Body Fresh. Straight away. And welcome to the family is actually what it says. Welcome to the family. And then straight away, that induction has been something that has been, over the 2 years, is developed a lot, because initially it was me just telling. And what I've learned through coaching is no one learns through tell. Even rugby coaching myself, it's always through ask. Where are you currently at and what do you want? And the thing is, it's sometimes hard to navigate. You're someone in the room that wants to train for high rocks. You've someone in the room who's 60 that wants to train for. Luckily, we do campaigns that are usually in the same categories, but you've got to kind of balance that, because you can't give advice on different things. But more importantly, what we do is we just try to understand where they're currently at. And I take notes. I physically take notes in the session, and I show them, and I explain what the team are going to do. And the idea is, and I know it sounds really cliche, but it's, understanding the customer, like, so important. I remember when I first went into a gym at 18, I didn't know what I was doing and I was nervous. I think some people get locked into where they're currently at and they want to get people pumped up. But, if people have never been in the gym before, They need to know that they're comfortable and that they can be looked after, and also understand the company's vision. I want to make you guys feel great, and I'm going to look after you. And I ask them personal questions. I like, even in the waiting room when people are arriving, I'm sitting in there waiting for them. Going, "Oh, John, what do you do for a living? Oh, you're retired. I bet you're buzzing with that. Do you live locally?" And I always try and gather as much data of each person as I can, because I use that later on. I tell the team, I go, "This is what he does for a job. He's training for 2 grandkids. Please bring it up in session." Those touch points are so important to people, and it just makes that difference of being a personal training gym or another number that's coming in and just flowing.
Well, I think a lot of gyms, person's straight into open gym, or they're straight into the group class or the SGPT, and there's none of this little touch points in between. No PowerPoint presentation, no video message.
It's a game changer for us, because we used to just try and do it all online.
I'm having flashbacks out years ago as a member of a CrossFit gym, and I used to see they didn't really know what I did. I kept it like private, but I used to observe, and they new members would join that gym, and like the first workout was like Fran, which is and then you'll never see that client again. And I'm like, they've literally that's their first experience of fitness in like 10 years, and they've been introduced to like one of the hardest workouts, and then there's been no interaction with the coach after the session. They were just left to like turn up for the next one.
That's why I struggle to understand.
But some gym owners might be like, well, that's the type of clientele I want. I want clientele that's self-motivated. I want clientele that will, train 5 times a week. I don't want to have to mollycoddle people. I don't want to have to roll out this extra service. So why do you think it's important?
Because we learned early that that's the market. Most people coming into gyms are new, and they're going to need that support. And when we launched small group, I mean, that changed the game for us a little bit, because when we were large, what we were doing is leading on to what Matt said. We had this large group of sales, and they're coming into large group programs, and they haven't trained before. That's a recipe for disaster. And then they're getting inducted via a WhatsApp. So where's that connection? Where's that care? And so that's why we're getting such high levers, because they're coming into a large group, they're training with people that have been there for maybe a year, that are fit, and they've never trained before in an environment that's fast paced and high energy. They're never going to last. One coach cannot genuinely look after 15 new people. It's just not doable. So when we launched small group, and then we could slow things down and we could break it down, and it was more about the nuance of coaching. Anyone new coming in suddenly was retaining, rather than just in and out after the first month. They were sticking. And a lot of the training we've done with our staff over the last year is about how to deal with a new customer, because 90-day programs we sell now, 90 days, they're going to get to a good level. They're going to be like everyone else after 90 days if they're coached properly. So learning that patience and learning the breakdowns of training. We do a lot of staff training on it, about how do you have a customer that's 2 years with us on one squat rack and 5 days with us on the other, and how do you make them both feel coached? And there is definitely ways to do it. You just got to have that skill set, which we do. And the good thing is we've got a good team. We've got 6 guys, and they've all got good elements that they all bounce off of each other for that. So then suddenly, once you upskill everyone feels welcome. I mean, it's part of our training, and I talk about the induction and what we try and do there. But even then, straight away from those guys, as part of our journey, I then get them to all book their sessions. Matt usually books them actually on the phone, which is even better. But if they're not, I pick up any loose ends, so they're booked. They know when their first session is, and we tend to book them with people that are a bit more experienced, because they've had, they're quite good with the new guys. But I do trust everyone to do someone new. But then I go, right, okay, you're training this time, and we look forward to seeing you. You're going to be absolutely fine. And we have this big thing about like the welcome, like genuinely making them feel special as they walk through the door. Like, John, it's amazing to see you. How are you doing? It's your first session today. Everyone, it's John's first session. Like, John, we're going to look after you. You're going to be absolutely fine. This is your area. You're going to be sweet. Yeah, don't worry. Mike's put in your notes. He's already told me you've got a bit of a sore knee, so we'll go a little bit smart on the mobility side for your squats. But other than that, you'll be absolutely fine. Straight away, his whole attitude to the game is different. He's going, oh my God, I've never experienced something like this before. This is the proper gym. And from that point, then it's up to the guys to train them with high quality. The good thing is with the team is they always feed back on the new customers. So usually they send like in a WhatsApp group that we have, and then I will then feed back to that customer. Say, hey John, I just spoke to Leslie your first session. He said that your back was a bit tight, but don't worry, we'll do some extra stretching at the start. I'll put it onto your next session as a note, so the trainer will pick that up with you on the next one. And it probably sounds like a lot of admin, but it's not really. I mean, this 15 to 20 sales a month. The volume of maybe, like I said, in any month, we might have, say, 40 trialists. It's a 30-second text per 40 people.
Much easier to keep a customer than get a new one.
Yeah, exactly. It saves a lot of time. And then what I do on my end is with Matt, because Matt does also does our upgrade. So only until recently we were doing 4 weeks, but obviously now it's 90 days. So what I would do is I'd use them reporting and numbers to see how they're getting on. So I do 2 check-ins a week with the customers just via WhatsApp. And we used to do it on automations. But again, my thing with the automation side of it is that I feel like you lose the personal touch. Or if you go down the AI route, you lose personal touch. Usually it's just simple as, John, how's this week gone? Or, Susan, how did you get on with your first couple of sessions this week on a Friday? And they always just get a Monday and Friday text saying, how are you getting on? Are you set for this week? How did this week go?
So a question I'm sure others are thinking, are you using your own personal phone? Is it a business phone that all the coaches have access to? How does it work?
So I use a WhatsApp, a separate phone.
Integrated into CRM?
Not into the CRM, no. So Matt basically, when he signs someone up, because they're all into our active campaign, and then he just sends me the number, I say the number into that work phone, and then I message them, video message, and then they're connected there. I didn't have my WhatsApp on my laptop, and I just use it like emails. It's unread people, and I just quickly search the name. I have dual screen, and I have a spreadsheet where every member's on there. And literally, that's the 2 touch points. And I tick it off. I go, message, yep, done. And I just work through the people.
And I'm glad you said that about AI and automation, because you've tried that, but manual right now is the best effective way.
It's changed the game. I mean, like when we first launched Small Group, it was hitting around 60% upgrade rate, and our back end retention was around sort of like 85% mark. We're now currently running at 98% retention, and our upgrade rate is around 75%. The last 2 months, we've had 90% upgrades. So it's like anything else. You said it there. If you want to spend, 2 hours extra of doing this admin to create touch points and real customer care, it saves us more than Matt having to do and spend way more money on ads to try and bring people in, for them not to progress through with Body Fresh. So for me, it's worth the time. And it's quite good. People that listen in probably think, well, how do you keep that going? But within 90 days, if you're doing all those touch points, you're going to usually create a decent level of connection, and the coaching are going to really create a rapport with that person. So then once hopefully they then stay on, but then it's like, well, we've got 145 members. I can't physically check in with 145 people. So we created a system where we have weekly check-ins. And I know it's a bit of a taboo one, because some people think, it's too much time, but we do it very manual. So is it just a simple Google sheet? Hey guys, it's Monday. Anything on your mind? You've got a detailed check-in and a simple check-in, so I let them choose. And we have around about 40 to 50 people. Now, the good thing with me is that I spend a whole Tuesday, about 4 or 5 hours, getting back to people. All right, again, time. But I know that 50 of my customers, roughly, are connected to the business. They're asking for advice. They're telling me their problems, and we're trying to talk them through and fix them. And again, that to 50 people, it takes me a couple of hours. And then the other 100, obviously, naturally, some of them are trialists, but the other guys, I look at them, I have a little spreadsheet of what we call like our inner circle, our back end members. We run events. So every quarter, we try to run roughly 4 events. So it might be like a kettlebell seminar, a nutrition seminar, a menopause seminar, anything to do with education, or like a high rocks simulation, anything like that. And each quarter, we try and have a variance of 3. And I look through our club members and who's involved with one of those 3 events, because I'm not able to check in with them. But if I can keep them involved in our events, more likely they're going to stay, because they're still connected to Body Fresh. They're coming on the social, and I know that I don't need to worry about them too much. And then to add another layer to that, we also then have our we do our numbers. So every week I run a report which I send to Matt, and basically it's our attendance rates. So anyone that's 1 or 0 gets flagged automatically. And usually on Monday, it's simple as me. It's usually around, so our numbers have massively jumped, because it used to be something like 70% attendance rates at one point. And then last year it was averaged to 80. And again, going into the new year, we're averaging around 90% attendance, 92%. And what I do is, it usually is, like I say, a list of 10 to 14, and then I'll message to message them all saying, hey, noticed you didn't come last week, or you only come once. Is everything okay? The great thing about that is usually 8 of them wiped off. Was on holiday, poorly, injury. All right, and then you can solve that problem. Cool, get in for this week. They're back on track. Then there's some people that are struggling, and then they're my phone calls. So that's I usually call out to maybe 3 to 6 a week of people that are struggling, and making sure that they stay in and they get the care. Where some people, what we used to do is I used to just leave them. I mean, we wasn't even running reports 2 years ago of low attendance. So there's no way we're pushing people in, and I said to our head coach the other day, she's done so well with building our team up and delivering a good product that now my job is just to keep pushing them back in because I back the product. They're delivering such good stuff. I've just got to help people when they're having wobbles because we all do. And it's just about that touch point of just constantly pushing people back and helping them stay on their fitness mindset because everyone's allowed a dip in motivation throughout the year. And so that's kind of what we do. And then I will go into the other thing that we do retention is obviously leavers because that's the biggest tell of what you're doing wrong as a business. Why are people leaving? And obviously you get the odd moving away and that, but if anyone says it's too much money, that's because the product's not good enough for whatever reason to that person. So
because they could afford it at the start.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
What's changed?
Yeah, and that's smoke screens, and that's what it is. And again, this is only though probably over the last couple of quarters now that we've learned that every customer genuinely matters. So if you go actually, we had, because we got humbled a little bit in February this year, we had much more higher cancellations. We don't know exactly why, but suddenly we went from like these 96 to 98% retentions. And suddenly we had 10 leavers in a month. And we're like, where's this come from? And so we started to drill into it, whether it was the coaching or different reasons. A lot of it was just loss of motivation. That Christmas period really knocked people. And we saved it for people in 1 week through phone calls. And I got a couple of the coaches that were more connected with that person to call them up. And overnight, 4 people saved. That completely changed our swing for that
Love
month.
that, because most of them is leaving to do nothing. It's not like they're leaving to go do a competitor or take part in a different service completely around well-being or fitness. So both of you just delivered a masterclass on sales and retention. So I really appreciate that. Let's talk finances. You told me off camera you got some help with that.
Yeah, so it was at the Tottenham Mastermind. We were in a bit of a painful place in terms of our business financially, and we were going around in circles a lot. And there was certain elements that we weren't very good at this point, and one of those was like our numbers and, or obviously our finances. So Nicky Segal got up on stage from FBDA and he did a very small speech, and it really resonated with us. And I said to Mike, after a really painful period shortly after that, I said, look, we got to ring Nicky and we got to have a conversation with him because we need some help. And so we got in contact with Nicky, really, really good, and very, very quickly started to get us straight into some real nitty gritty and opening up the hood in terms of our numbers. And it was really showing us our business in the cold light of day of what was really going on. But it was great because then we could really just, again, take all of our emotion out of the game, look at the numbers of what they were saying, and we could just start putting in things that would fix it. And so we've been working with FBDA now for like over a year. Our mentor's Barry, and we do bi-weekly coaching calls. They keep us accountable for everything we do. And yeah, we just go through our numbers on a weekly basis and make sure that...
When you say going through your numbers, are you looking at the P&L on a Zoom call, right?
Yeah, absolutely everything. So we'll look at like what we're bringing in terms of like, firstly, what's our sales target? Did we meet that? If not, why not? What's happened? What did we do? If Meta wasn't performing in terms of the ads, what did we do outside of that? Matt, that's your responsibility. So I get held to accountability on that. So if you've not hit target, what's going on? And then same from retention. Why have we had these levers? What are the numbers looking at from that sort of side of it? What are the upgrades looking like? If percentages are down, why? If they're going in the right direction, great, keep going. The P&L, and obviously our profit. Are we profitable? So we look at all of these things and we go through our sheets and we go through any sort of teething problems or issues that we might be having that is maybe stopping any one of those areas from fulfilling its full potential. So one, it keeps us accountable. Two, we always have to look at these numbers. And yeah, it really shows you what your business is doing.
And there's no hiding when someone from outside is looking at your profit and loss sheet.
Yeah, you can't.
Because a lot of people, not just fitness people, a lot of businesses like inflate the numbers.
Yeah.
They hide stuff. They try and they tell a story that isn't quite true. Yeah. But when it's there in black and white and someone's holding you accountable and asking you, why did you spend X on Y? And did you really need to do that? Can you cut back here? Can you put more money into savings?
Yeah.
That's when there's no hiding. So that's awesome. What sort of relief has that given you sort of behind the scenes?
Well, I mean, we got Barry as our mentor, and he's really good because he's very straight talking. But one of the first conversations that they had with us is that, what's the balance of work to lifestyle? Are you able to see your family, do the things that you want to do, have the holidays you like, or are you completely stuck in the mud for the business? And that's exactly what we were. We wouldn't even take a long weekend.
Because you're teaching classes, not limited team maybe, or no team.
Yeah, that's completely right. I mean, we've got 6 now, but when we started we were just a 2-man band for the first 2 years, which meant that we had to do all the delivery, and that was hurting us. And like Matt said there, it was great because when you see your numbers, it's almost like you see the dials of the business, and you can see which dials turn down and how you need to fix it. And like we said when we looked at the percentages before, is that once you know your numbers and the business is talking back to you, you can take action. Where sometimes if you go off of, I said before, feelings, where you go, I feel like this isn't going good, it doesn't mean anything. And and we used to get distracted by the shiny stuff. We wanted to have this big sing and dancing website, or we wanted to go and launch a different program on the side. And what was great about coming with these guys is just like streamline, do the basics really well and stick to them, and make so the basics are the highest level they can. So the difference between last year of a 60% retention rate in year one, 70% last year, and then obviously this year now 75, 80%. It changes the numbers so drastically.
The dials go up.
Exactly. And even like we said before about the cancellations, like losing 4 people can change your net growth massively over the scale of a year by not letting people go. And the good thing is there's strategy behind that. How do you save someone? But when you're with someone who's also working with a network, just like you guys, which we see on your school, is that there's people out there going through the same issues that are trying methods that are working, and then you adopt it through the advice, and then you go, right, how do we save someone who's leaving? Or, how do we get some leads if the meta's starting to not bring it in? How do we bait and switch? How do we now look organic? Is our referral program to the highest level? What methods are the other hundreds of gyms using in this model to get referrals in? And suddenly you can go and try it, rather than, I think what a lot of people do is they go, it's just a sign of the times at the moment. Our meta's just going dead. Leads are bad. Yeah. And it's rubbish. You got to look in the mirror on those ones and be prepared to adapt very quickly. And the good thing of having a coach, you're not just making it up or moaning that it's not working. You got someone saying, well, have you tried A, B, and C? Exactly what you do with customers. If they're struggling with diet, have you tried A, B, and C? Oh, you're not sleeping. Have you tried this? And then usually they haven't. So then you go, right, okay, cool, let's do that first.
Same with a business coach who's looking at that P&L, holding you accountable. You talked about lifestyle. I'd love to circle back on that. Too many business owners open their business through passion for what they do, and that could be walking dogs, making cakes, or fitness. And then that business dominates their life. Out the door 4:30 in the morning, don't get back till 9, 10 at night. Have one day off a week, and they've basically got themselves the worst paying job that is all hours.
Yeah.
So can you just talk us through what Barry or Nikki at FBDA said to you about the lifestyle and that balance?
He got us to reverse engineer everything, which again we were trying to do ourselves, but really badly. After another book we read was Profit First, and he was trying to rewire everything and pay ourselves first. But how can we pay us? We weren't clicking. And then Nikki just said, right, we're going to reverse engineer absolutely everything. What do you guys want to get paid? And we're like, oh, I don't know. I've never been asked that question before, more than what I'm on right now. So we went, right, okay, well, let's just say, here's I'm okay money. Here's I'm doing really well. This is okay. I'm not having to worry about anything kind of money. Where do we want to be? So we said, all right, well, what about here? He goes, right, well, what do we need to get there? All right, well, where are we right now? Okay, well, to get there, we need to have this amount of members at this price point, and that's this far away from where you are right now. So it started to map out a bit of a journey for us, which we'd never really had. We'd seen where we needed to go, i.e. the destination up in the forefront, but we'd never had the steps to follow to sort of get there. We were kind of winging it a little bit just to see if we could get ever closer to that. Now Nikki had kind of mapped out a bit of a segue for us. We were like, right, okay, that's cool.
I love that question. How much do you want to earn?
Yeah.
2 grand, 3 grand, 5 grand, 8 grand, 10 grand, 12 grand, 15 grand.
Completely stumped us.
Because when that question's asked, it makes you start thinking differently, right? Because I guarantee your thinking prior to that was the revenue of the business.
Yeah.
And you were always last.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we always last, and then you always just got that worry of, have I got enough to pay the mortgage and bills? And that pressure of providing that every single month, and then that starts to boil over into your social life, into your home life, your stress levels. Everything goes up, and things can go very negative very, very quickly, and you can become burnt out. And we were getting burnt out a lot. And it wasn't positive because we both had young families, and you're trying to be a dad, and you're trying to be the fun dad on the weekends, but actually you've got no energy because you've been working, 15, 16 hours a day to try and make this thing work. But as soon as we got on with the FBDA guys, I remember Nikki saying to us something along the lines of, sometimes you've got to slow down to speed up. I was like, God, you're right. You're so right, because what we're doing is we're trying to speed up. And we've not even recovered from this burnout yet we're trying to go again. So we slowed everything down. We mapped out a journey. We reverse engineered. We said, right, this is where we've got to go. These are the steps we need to take. These are the things we need to look at to try and make sure we're going to get those. Off we go, gents. And that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, I think back when, the hours we're doing, back when we were doing the 15, 20 hours on the shop floor, hearing Matt saying about, how much time and energy he puts into getting a lead through the door. He wouldn't have had time to do that 2 years ago. And same with all the detail go into member journey. I couldn't have done that doing 20 hours a week. So, what you learn is actually we want to earn this, but the only way you can do that is by hitting your dials. You've got to get to 95% this, 70% that. And the only way you can do that is by giving your time to the business instead of being stuck in that rut of being delivery on the shop floor. And so, that was one of the big things for us, was how do we get ourselves out so that we can actually grow the business quicker? And we took those risks. It was well, actually, let's pay a head coach. Let's really go in with the guys and pay them to go deliver the sessions for us. And it was the best decision we made, because then we could then suddenly turn those dials up, and we caught that money we lost up very quickly by making that risk and taking that investment. I think a lot of people, we were stuck in that rut for too long. I almost wish we did it sooner, but it's scary, because you don't want to go, we're not really making enough now, let's go spend some more money on staff and growth. But actually it's to your benefit. And now, with family lives, we don't work Sundays anymore. We barely work Saturdays anymore. Evenings, our hours are covered. We was doing every morning, every evening. Sunday, I'm at home with my kids 4 or 5 times a week, and it's made me happier. And also the energy that we can put into it's completely changed. Where before you get home at 8:30 at night and you're eating your dinner on your own upstairs, or then you're down in the kitchen, you think, what am I doing?
Oh, we've all done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like you can't be the best pizza restaurant in town if you're consistently just cooking the pizzas in the kitchen. You have to be out of the kitchen and work on the business. Same for gym owners. You can't be the best gym in your town city if you're consistently on the floor delivering all of the sessions. Yes, you may be the best coach, but your time is best on the systems, the processes. And going back to what you said right at the start of this podcast, the vision. What's the vision for the business, your life? And that crucial question is, how much do you actually want to earn per month? So you guys have smashed it. Thank you for being awesome FMA clients. Where can people find out more? What's the website? What's the Instagram if they wanted to reach out to you?
Website is bodyfreshfitness.co.uk, and the Instagram is just @bodyfreshfitness.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.